You guys have always prided yourself on being very historically accurate, going through the Crusades and the Renaissance. Talk about how it's different this time when we're moving into the Revolutionary War, where there's way more documentation about what's going on in that time period.
So we've always, look, I don't pretend that we're super duper precise accurate. We try our best. It is, we aspire to be as accurate as possible, technology and fun factor allowing. What's helped us a lot in the past are the gaps and the gray areas and the sort of scarcity of documentation and precision. And I think as we move closer and closer to the present, those gaps, those sort of cloudy, fogs of war, whatever you want to call them, start to evaporate. And I think it's important as we go that we try and at least communicate to the audience that when we do, diverge from the historical record, it's usually because, or almost always, because it makes the game a better game first. And so, yeah, it's a little tricky. This game, more than the others, required a lot of piece moving and sort of, I don't know, creative ballet in order to try and hit all of the important moments to stay as true to them as possible.
But I think that's also the opportunity, is that we have, because there's more information, you also have opportunities, you know what I mean? You have these moments in history that people know about in the same way that they knew a little bit about Leo. Leonardo da Vinci in the previous games, it was fun to meet him. Now we have these events that you can be at, that you know a little bit about, And so I think that there's, we've tried very hard not to contradict any piece of history. Obviously we've added a little bit, your involvement in it, but I think we're still very accurate, the people that are targets in the game are real people. They died in the right year, in the right way, at the right time, which is always something that I thought was exciting about AC. And you get to play through more events in this game than previously. It was like historical buildings and historical characters, and now we can do historical events, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I remember that during AC2 it was quite tough because we had a whole bunch of stuff that we could deal with in Florence. And then once we got to Venice, the historical record was so empty that we had to get a lot more creative, because what there was to work with was thin. And so we definitely have not had that problem. We've had the opposite problem this time, which is there is so much stuff that we've had to decide, what are we going to focus on, and then what are we going to have to leave behind? Because the last thing we wanted to do was say, well, here's everything, and vomit onto the disc, and then you're like, come on, this is.
But we know that we were talking about before, but often we know the weather on certain days. You know what I mean? Enough people wrote about whether it was hot or cold or raining or not raining at this particular event, that we're trying even to be accurate in terms of the weather. When we know the weather in the game is pretty much true to the event, which is kind of creepy if you think about it.
And that's one of the few rules that we've given ourselves, the 30-second rules, where actually if we mention a building, a character, or an event, as much as possible, if you find information quickly, Googling or Wikipedia, if you find information within seconds, under 1 minute or 30 seconds, we have to respect that. Except if we have technical reasons, we
just can't.
Or like Corey said, fun reason.
But it still kills me, because every now and then I've been seeing it on Reddit. In fact, in AC2 near the Duomo, there is a baptistry, and it wasn't in the game because they literally couldn't fit it in the game. But I will still to this day see people complaining about how inaccurate the game was because it wasn't in there. And it's like, I know it's supposed to be there. I wanted to put it in there. We couldn't put it in there. So that's. But it's fun.
But
One of the things that keep me up at night.
Having such tricky fans is good.
Yes, but it
So do you guys find yourself with the bevy of information available? Are you consulting historians more just to make sure you're doing it right now, or did you consult them more with the previous projects?
It's always been the same. We have a historical or researcher, basically, that's on the team, on site, so questions and verification all goes through him. And then as the script gets written, we have another guy who, I guess I'm not allowed to, he is a university professor, and then he does another fancier validation pass.
We also have any time we're dealing with specialist knowledge. So in this instance, in issues relating to the Native American community, we have a specific historian to deal with that. So we have someone who can go through and say, this name, someone may have told you this name is correct, but it's absolutely not, it's not true, and you've mistranslated this sentence, or all that sort of stuff. So we have very specific people as well.
and about historical accuracy. Also, it's not only constraints; it's also about opportunities and ideas of gameplay. And I mean, since AC2, we're really taking as many information as possible from the time period, from the society organization, from the jobs back in the days, and to help the designers and the creatives, to come up with ideas that fit within that setting. So I remember in AC2, for example, the courtesans, the mercenaries, or the thieves, I mean, were really part of the society of the Italian Renaissance. So we have like that some gameplays that really come from these researchers. It's not only about putting limits and constraining to be accurate.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the poetry
as guidelines.
It's kind of the poetry of the conspiracy story as well. Yes. Like you're tying these big historical moments in with the Templars and the Assassins, who are shadow organizations. So that
well, for our less cynical fans, the idea is that the more we can root it in stuff that actually happened, the more you'll believe the fiction that we're putting in there.
Yes.
Unless you're a hater, in which case there's nothing I can do.
I should remember that.
Really?
The way you said it.
I don't remember, but it's on the table.
That was good.